guys, we are back. This is another edition of MMA Past, Present, and Future. My name is Keith Shillan. This is being brought to you by SureDog.com and Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I'm going to get right into it because we have an absolute loaded lineup. We have Alex Hernandez, who's fighting on this weekend's UFC. He'll be in the second segment under the Present. We have Alexandra Ballou, who's fighting on Icon 5, a nice undefeated prospect. She'll be in the future segment, but we're going to start right with the guy that you already see on screen in the past segment. He is a multi-time UFC heavyweight champion. He, of course, is the Maniac, Tim Sylvia. Tim, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Just chilling at home. Got to do a charity event today at 3, so we're trying to knock this out before we go.
All right, cool. So let's get right into it. We just talked off air. You told me that you're coming out of retirement. Is that true?
No.
All right, I tried, guys. I tried. So last time I really saw you in the news was the thing going on with your arm. Obviously, the old broken arm with Frank Mir. You have screws. Have you got that fixed yet?
Yeah, I had to get it fixed immediately. So they the two of the bolt heads broke off and caused a staph infection, and that's what the problem was. So they had to go in there and take the plates and screws and any other. Well, there's 3 plates in there. They took out the main plate that was on the outside where the screws broke, and I'm good for right now.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if it's so incredible that you had this injury for so long, was tough enough, or the fact that when your arm was broken, you still wanted to fight, which is absolutely insane to me.
I know, right? Probably wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, yeah. So I seen where are they now segment, and it's about 5 years old or so. And you said that your best memory was the knockout of Andre Arlovski in your second matchup where you won the title for the second time.
I don't know if it's my memory, but it's one of the most favorite fight probably in UFC history for me.
And why does that one stand out to you above all the others?
I think I was like 14-0 before I went to the UFC. I did those tournaments for Super Brawl four times, 3 times in one night and 4 times in 2 days. And then I got my UFC debut, and it couldn't have gone any better. It was a great showing. And then the UFC asked me for a title shot. They gave me a title shot. I'm like, well, shit, that was easy. My first ever goal was to get in the UFC, and I did it. And then all of a sudden, eventually my goal would have been to win a world title. But it happened after the first fight. I get a title shot, and I'm like, well, it didn't seem like I really had to work for it. But, when I look back at it, I did have to work for it. I was 15-0.
Sure.
So I fought my ass off. So I got the title shot, and I won. We went into that fight. I thought I could beat him, but if I didn't, we were like, oh, well, you just fought the heavyweight champion. You lost. Time to climb the ladder again. So I beat him. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now I'm the heavyweight champ. It just kind of happened. So then, after I vacated my title against McGee, I came back and fought Mir. He broke my arm. Then I fought Arlovski. He put me in a heel hook, and it popped a few times. So I panic tapped. And then I had to fight, 2 or 3 more times, and I actually had to earn the title shot the way it's supposed to be. I thought anyway in the UFC. So I had to earn it, and then once again I was considered the underdog. I was going to lose. I was going to get my ass kicked. Arlovski beat me the first time so easily, and when he dropped me, I jumped back up and knocked him out.
Sure.
Like, man, it was just bittersweet.
Yeah, I remember Joe Rogan screaming like, "What a comeback!" and it really was a comeback. And did adding the fact that you beat Andre Arlovski, a guy that previously beat you, did that add to the getting an revenge against a former opponent? Did that make it a little more special?
It did, because everyone's like, well, Arlovski wins 99 out of 100 times, and then I beat him twice in a row.
Yeah.
So the first time, maybe he would have won the first time, the way he did. But coming off I fought up 5 months after Frank broke my arm. So that was fresh in my memory, and as soon as I felt the pops, I tapped. It didn't hurt. When you're fighting, nothing hurts. Your adrenaline's through the roof. But I panic tapped, and I think if I just kind of came up on him, and I don't know. If I did, I should have, would have, how that all goes. But,
yeah.
It is, and whatever.
Yeah, I understand. I still got old wrestling matches I think about that I'm like, oh, if I only did this instead of that. I totally understand. And when I lose a wrestling match, it wasn't in front of, pay-per-view. And so I understand where you're coming from. When I think of Tim Sylvia, you've had so many incredible moments. I always think of the first title. you were going to get, you were, like you mentioned, you only had one win in the UFC. A lot of people said, "Oh, this guy didn't deserve a title shot." Rico Rodriguez was the man. He just beat Randy Couture, an all-time legend. He was part of Team Punishment with him and Tito. They both were the champions at the time. He was this massive favorite. Like, that's the fight that stands out to me, because to me, like, that really encompasses your career. I think being kind of counted out a lot. You agree with me on that?
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one that always stands to me. But I understand the Arlovsky one, and the backstory you said makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you this: when I say Tim Sylvia, like, what do you think your legacy is, and what do you want your legacy to be?
I just one of the baddest guys in the UFC at a heavyweight division. Guy who wasn't athletically gifted, who I had to bust my ass to become where I was and who I was. I watched Jens Pulver train a lot, and I try to. Jens wasn't, he had a lot of power, but he was a great wrestler, but he worked his ass off in the gym. And along with Pat as well. Matt was gifted. He was just a genetically gifted freak. Would show up 2 weeks before a fight, sometimes show up 3 days before a fight, and go and smack someone and win the title again. Pat and Jens really worked their asses off in the gym, and they put this in my brain to where the only thing you can control in any fight is your condition. That's the only thing you can control in a fight. So if you're in better shape than the other guy, that's one favor in your odds. That's something that you can control. That's the only thing. The only thing when it comes to fighting is your condition. You want to make sure you outwork the guy and you're in better shape.
Yeah.
So a heavyweight my size and my reach, and if I have great cardio, I don't think anybody can beat me.
Yeah, so when I think of, like, it's always hard asking someone, like, what do you think your legacy is? Because, it's hard for you to judge yourself. 3 things always stand out to me. The first thing is you came from, like, nowhere, Maine. And I don't mean that as an insult, but, like, most people never heard of you from. But not even that. You're from an area where MMA is not really a hotbed. I mean, you think about just New England in general. You're the only... I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Wrestling's not even a hotbed.
No. If you're ranking, because I grew up in New England, you could probably tell from my accent, I'm from Southern New England. If we were ranking, the states in wrestling, it's the Southern, New England states, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, that kind of, maybe a little bit of Vermont because of Mount St. Anthony, but like Maine is not really known for the wrestling. And
in Iowa, I had buddies that were, national champions in wrestling in high school and stuff, and went off to college, and a great high school wrestler will beat a college wrestler in Maine. Iowa high school wrestler will beat a Maine college wrestler all day, every day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from similar area, so I 100% understand. So that first stands out to me. You're the only champion in history from New England, and then you're from Northern New England, which is you got the teams. You had the Set Your Tongues and this and that. In Southern New England, the cartel.
Grady in Boston,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're the Southern, not the Northern. So that stands out. The second that stands out is anytime people talk about the big heavyweights, there's 2 names that's always going to come up. It's going to be you and it's going to be Brock Lesnar. So that's a legacy that's always going to survive. And then the third, and I don't mean to bring up a touchy topic, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because how open you are is you're someone who at one time took PEDs, but you didn't try covering up. And I think that's why it's been, to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like you've been forgiven because of that.
Well, I mean, that's cool if it was, and and I didn't do it for an advantage, unlike guys like Brock Lesnar and Vitor and those guys. Respect for them, but these guys did it because they wanted to get big, strong, fast. I just wanted to look better on a poster.
Sure, get a couple ladies. Yeah, I get it.
I wanted to look better on a poster. I wanted those 8-pack abs, and at the end of the day, I wasn't going to have it. You look at Stipe. Stipe don't have it, and he's the best in the world.
No, I know. Daniel Cormier, one of those. Yeah.
PC, perfect example.
Yeah.
It's just I always, I had a low self-esteem, with my physique and stuff, and I just wanted to look better. And the stuff I took, I was open about it. It was I don't even remember. Winstrol. Because some fucking jerk off in the gym, so you need to get on Winstrol. That'll get you all cut up.
Yeah.
So I tried it. So, but yeah, it didn't work. work, and I got popped.
Yeah. So the other thing I think about is being part of, like, you're part of a dynasty over there at Militich Fighting Systems. You mentioned Matt Hughes. You mentioned Matt Hughes didn't work hard, which to me is just like, how is that possible?
I couldn't say he didn't work hard. When he was in the gym, he worked hard.
Okay.
He
just didn't live in the gym.
He didn't have training camps. No, he didn't have training camps like me and Pat and Jens and everybody else. Spencer Fisher. No, he didn't have training camp.
Yeah, to me, that's amazing. Like, I didn't, when you do interviews, you kind of, I write down a couple of notes that I want to ask, and then you kind of guess what they're going to say and where you want to go down. Like, I didn't expect you to say that, but you hear the stories, you hear the stories about, like, when he fought BJ Penn.
I don't want to have any disrespect to Matt.
No.
Because, he's one of my best friends. He's actually in my upcoming wedding. But, yeah, I mean, he was just genetically gifted. He was strong knocks, his great wrestling, and it worked for him for so long, but he finally met his match, and I hate this fight against St. Pierre, Finally, he met a guy who's just as gifted, physically gifted, who works hard. I mean, George St. Pierre busts his ass in the gym, has great training camps, and, that was the one thing that he can control. And, that's when Matt met his demise. And, I kind of, some things Matt did in that fight, and he was led in the wrong direction. People told him, Matt, you got good stand-up. Your stand-up's great. You can stand up with St. Pierre. No, his stand-up sucked. And, I've seen that happen with another prime example, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Somebody got in her head and told her she had good stand-up and she could stand up with Holly Holmes. And she got lucky against some people that were okay.
Yeah.
But not the... I mean, if Ronda went out there and trained with some better wrestlers and grabbed people and threw them on the head and broke their arm, I still think she could be a UFC champ.
Yeah.
But he had this bad coaching and said that she's got good stand-up, and she went away from what she was great at.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I lead the charge on that and saying that if Ronda Rousey returned to UFC, that she would still be a top 5 fighter. Like, I still say that. Like, I still, just based on her, what I've seen, I still think, I mean, would she beat Amanda Nunes? Probably not, but probably everyone else in the division.
She could. She could be a top 10, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
She doesn't have that killer instinct, that killer personality, and some of the girls got into it because their boyfriends are doing it, and it's, oh, let's fun, let's compete in jiu-jitsu. Oh, okay, I'll fight. And, they go out there and they don't try to... Amanda Nunes, Cyborg, Ronda, they're trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you fight, you got to flip that switch, and you got to be like, this guy, if I don't hurt this person, they're going to hurt me.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more question about Matt, and this isn't about Matt Hughes. I just want to, we're going down memory lane. Did he overlook BJ Penn that first time, UFC 46? Like, did he undertrain?
Yeah, he didn't train for Penn at all.
Yeah. That's okay.
At all.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what happens, right?
Right.
And I understand it because...
Dude, that kid is unbelievable. BJ never trained hard for fights either.
No, I know. That's actually funny, too.
He's just genetically gifted, flexible, deep, good stand-up, great jab.
Yeah. And I understand it because a lot, hindsight is 20/20, but, because we're living in 2021, you got to put yourself back in whatever year that was, 2003, whatever, 2004. BJ Penn was a weight class below. He just had that draw. He couldn't even win the title against Cal Uno. Matt Hughes is on this huge run. Jens beat him. Yeah, that's right. Jens beat him. So, yeah, I totally understand that. So let's talk about Militich. Now, I'm obviously a bias, but do you think that's the best team ever?
Ever, all-time greatest.
Yeah. Now,
well, you look. Everybody did what we did. Everybody did. They saw what we were doing, so they went out and did what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were the. I don't even know how the word I'm looking for, but we were the blueprint.
Yeah.
Of put the best gym together. And went out there. We surrounded ourselves with greatness. Pat brought in guys that were better than him. And that's what I did. That's why I hated training camps so bad. My training camps, I got beat up. Plain and simple. Wrestling night, I had Iowa wrestlers coming in and taking me down, beating me up. Jiu-jitsu night, I went with all the better guys that were in jiu-jitsu than me. Sparring, I was always the best sparer, when it comes to sparring, but I just went with 4 or 5 guys, so I was tired, and they beat me up. That's training camps for the worst, man. If you don't get beat up in training camp, you are not going to win fights. You got to put yourself in the worst case scenario so you see it all.
Yeah, and just so there's a lot of people who watch the show who might not have been watching at that time. Let me just give some reference to the team I'm talking about. We're talking about, Tim Sylvia was heavyweight champion of the world. Jens Pulver was light heavyweight champion of the world. Pat Miletich was the welterweight champion, and shortly after, Matt Hughes was the welterweight champion. Other guys, Robbie Lawler, who would go on to win a UFC title. Jeremy Horn, who fought for a UFC title. What'd you say?
Franklin traded with us at middleweight.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot about Rich Franklin. Yeah, because I was thinking about the Ohio. But yeah, he came in. You guys had like Tony Fricklin, Spencer Fisher. I think Ben Rothwell was with you guys for a little bit, right?
To look at not the minor leagues, but a step down from the UFC was the IFL.
Yeah.
And our team, the Miletich team, was the champs.
That's right. I was actually there. I was there in the championship.
Win it, and Rothwell stepped away, and I guess Ryan McGivern's the only one that was actually staying in it to win the title out of them. But he actually used to be a heavyweight. He used to help me. He helped Rico Rodriguez when he was 230 pounds, wrestling at the Iowa Hawkeye.
Yeah. Now, when I think about the all-time teams, a lot of them had rivals. Like in Pride, you had Shootbox and Brazilian Top Team had that rivalry. Team Punishment and Lions Den had a rivalry. Like, did you guys have a rivalry with anybody?
We wasn't a fan of Team Punishment.
Yeah. Okay, I get. I mean, but you didn't really match up other than you and Rico, right? Was there any other matchups?
It was just us and me and Rico. Yeah. It's just they just talked a lot, and Rico talked so much shit. But no, I don't. We never really had. We just kind of kept to ourselves. We were in Iowa. And when, what was it to do to Iowa? Absolutely fucking nothing. So we trained.
Yeah.
This is the go-to. There's no nightclubs and, guys not running around chasing women and stuff like that. We got together and trained our asses off. We went mountain biking, played some paintball, played some video games, ice fishing, hunting.
Yeah.
That's,
So the other team that I could think of at that time was probably Team Quest when they had Couture and Lindland and Henderson. But they were a little top-heavy. Like, they weren't, like we just mentioned, about 20, 25 guys for Miletich.
Exactly.
Like Quest was like the core 3-4 guys. It wasn't as deep, right?
Right.
Yeah, I love talking, going down that old memory lane. Tell me this: you were in this crazy fraternity, elite fraternity. Like, what happened? Like, why did you guys break up?
Well, the first part that happened was Jeremy Horn moved to Utah.
Yeah.
And Jeremy was the guy, the go-to. He was the guy in the mornings, the grappling guy and stuff like that, and then the fucking IFL.
Yeah.
The IFL ruined Team Miletich because Pat was focusing on his IFL guys. It created a divide. So when that happened, Matt kind of went and opened up his own gym. Took our boxing coach, Matt Pena, and Robbie went with him. And yeah. That was it.
Now you mentioned that you said Matt Hughes is going to be in your wedding. Are you still like in touch with all the guys from Miletich?
We're getting married on May 8th, and Monty Cox is the best man. Pat Miletich, Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, and Steve Rusk are in the wedding.
Oh, cool! Yeah, nobody's gonna the wedding crashes. No one's crashing that wedding. It'd be a bad night.
All right.
Let me ask you. So I know you've talked on the record that you and Dana White didn't have the best relationship. Is this why you're not in the Hall of Fame yet?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't put up. He called me and you're like, "Have you lost your fucking mind?" I'm like, "Fuck you, man! Don't talk to me like that. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You may cut me a paycheck and shit, but you treat me like a man and you talk to me the way you're gonna talk to me face to face. And we had a lot of disagreement stuff. It's just you ain't gonna respect me, especially being a fighter and you're a fucking peon who couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
Yeah. I remember it seemed like it got to like a boiling point with the Jeff Munson fight. Like when you beat Jeff Munson, like it seemed like he wasn't happy with your win. Like is that true? Would you say that's like the peak of it, or was it worse before or after?
He wasn't happy with my performance, whatever. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, I won the fight, and it's like, you're not giving me any money if I lose. So I'm going to make sure I win at whatever it costs it takes.
Yeah.
But, you know, Jim stand up with me. He kept trying to take me down the whole time and stuff like that. And, you know, I was worried about him taking me down and stuff. And
Of course.
it was just a styles make fight. It was a tough fight to perform on, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, why would you go to the ground with the guy? The guy was an Abu Dhabi champion. You're jabbing him. You're winning with a jab. He can't get past the jab. Like, why would you change it? It's funny how fans and promoters, like, MMA is the only sport that a team or a fighter wins, and if they don't win in a certain way, it's looked negatively upon. You think about, like, if
in boxing either, and that's the other combat sport. You're right. I mean, Floyd Mayweather has had how many decision wins? And
I mean, the Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl, you know, a couple weeks back, and no one said, well, you know what, it was boring because at the end, second half, they were running the ball, or this, like, you don't hear that in other sports. Like a baseball team, they should have been stealing more. Like, it's just a weird thing that MMA guys kind of have to deal with. So, obviously, if I ask you this question, like, UFC comes to you and says, who do we put in the Hall of Fame next? Is it you or is it Jens? Who goes in next?
Frank Mir first. Not Frank Mir, I'm sorry. Frank Shamrock, Jens Fulver.
Yeah.
Jens was there first. He deserves to be in there for me.
Yeah. No, he's definitely. Now, let me ask you, what?
I think all three of us deserve to be in there. I mean, you got fucking guys like Stephan Bonner.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Serra.
Matt Serra does shit.
I'm a fan, but I can't stand him.
Yeah. All right. He does a show with Dana White, so you know he's getting in. What do you think of the current heavyweight landscape? Like, are you a fan of it? Do you think it's quality? Like, what do you think?
Fan of it. There's some quality guys. Frustrating, you know, because 5 years ago I could have been a top 10 guy in it.
Yeah.
You know, my body just gave out. Unfortunately, my stuff now. You know, but now I'm a fan of it. There's guys in there that I've beaten. You know, Ben Rothwell's still in there. I beat him. Partner for Derek Lewis came to American Top Team, and I beat his fucking ass, and he left. He never saw him again.
Yeah.
That was fair.
Derek Lewis won last night by brutal knockout.
I'm happy for him. It's cool, man. He's got heavy power. It's just he has no cardio. But yeah, I mean, Stipe, man. Stipe was the one to open my eyes. We trained. I helped him get ready for Stephen Struve, and I think I was fighting Paul Bontel. I can't even remember. We were training in Ohio, in Indiana when I was holding my training camps, and that's when I realized he's the next great thing. Like, I never trained with anybody before in my life. Trained with Matt Mifione, beat him up and stuff. I never trained with anybody in my whole life that I said, "Wow, this guy can beat me."
Mm-hmm.
He was, and I was just like, "Yeah, he's the next big thing." And he goes on winning, you know.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible. Would you put him number one all time? Like, and you know, there's a debate with him and Fedor and stuff. Like, would you put him as the best guy ever?
Top 5 right now. I heavyweight. I Fedor right now.
Fedor, yep.
John Jones is up there. I mean, John Jones is one of the best ever.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking strictly heavyweight, not
Fedor right now. Stipe probably second right now. But Stipe's got what it takes to go past Fedor.
Yeah, 1 or 2 wins. I mean, it's got to be there. And you know, two questions. I want to stay on this topic for a second. Where do you think you rank all time? And I know that's a very hard question to rank yourself, but
yeah, I think the UFC has me at 64, 67. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, all time probably. Right now, probably in the top 10. Right now, I mean, it's going to go away, but, I mean, 5-time UFC heavyweight champ, so only me, Randy, me and Randy have that. Stipe just passed us.
Yeah.
But, you know, Fedor, Nogueira, myself, Couture, Stipe. I don't put DC in there. At 205, not heavyweight.
Because he spent too much time out of the weight class. Kind of thing.
Yeah, and he can't beat the elite. he can't beat the elite top 10. You get lucky against Stipe, the first one, but yeah, no.
He beat some pretty good guys, man. He beat Mayer.
That?
He beat some pretty good guys. He beat Mayer. He beat Barnett. I mean, he's beat some good guys.
But put him against the guys in their prime.
Sure. No, I understand. I understand.
He didn't beat a Mayer prime, a Barnett prime.
No, I get it.
You know.
I think he's always going to be tough to rank because he spent his prime at light heavyweight.
Absolutely, yeah. That's where he belongs.
Yeah, which is always an issue with Randy. Randy had spent a big portion of his time at light heavyweight, so it's kind of hard to figure out where he stands.
Well, Randy's different. He's different.
Yeah.
I mean, he never. I don't even think he was ever in his prime. He was past his prime when he got it.
Oh, I know.
He still won. Same with Dan Henderson, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Those are tough questions. I don't know.
Yeah, and these are fantasy things, and these are the listen, when we watch this, people watch the video. This is the one that people will talk most about. They'll talk about the rank. The people love doing that. As soon as someone wins, the question on the recap show is, where do they rank all time, and this and that. Who's the GOAT? I mean, you do it with football with Tom Brady. So, John Jones, you just mentioned you think he's the GOAT. I actually agree with you. How do you think he does at heavyweight?
Top 5 guys he struggles with. Everybody else he cleans the litter.
So you don't think he'll beat Stipe?
I think Stipe finds the way to win.
Yeah. Do you?
He's got more reach. He's got more reach on him. He's more athletic. But I think he finds the way.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think I follow John Jones on social media, and he says he's revived and stuff, and he's hungry again. He's worried about the guys he's going to be facing.
Sure.
That's why he didn't do so again. All those. So, maybe I don't. It's interesting. I guess he gets the title shot after Nagano and Stipe, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's a mystery, and that's what's exciting about it, to see how he's going to do. Now, you said, you think you could, if your body didn't fall apart, you could still be at least in the top 10 right now. Would you want to still be fighting at this age? I know you've had a kid since then. You have a show.
I don't want to be fighting at this age, but when the UFC sent me my new contract and I signed it, and I was going to fight in Strikeforce, I was going to be the alternate, or I was going to fight DC. I was going to fight DC. I was going to fight Daniel Cormier. They sent me a contract. They sent me back to him. That was a time where I could have been in the top 10, and that was a time where I couldn't. If I won the title, it would have been my luck, because if I fought Cain Velasquez, he would have took me down. He would have. I don't think I could have beat a guy like Cain, even Stipe. But you put me against back then. I could have fought Nogueira again. I could have fought Frank Mir. I could have fought Congo. I mean, all these guys, it just would have been fun fights and great fights for the fans, like Joey Beltran and Pat. I'm forgetting Pat's name, but I trained him, loved him. Fought Congo and got knocked out.
Pat Barry.
Yeah, I mean, fights like that would have been just amazing fights for the fans to watch. Two guys, heavyweight, stand up, who like to throw down, no takedown attempts, just throw and see what happens.
Yeah.
Those would have been great fights for the fans to watch, and I would have been fine, content fighting in the UFC and you making a couple $100,000 a fight, and ending my career that way.
Yeah. You know what I find really refreshing about this interview is a lot of guys won't admit, like, no, I would have lost to that guy. Like, you're doing that, which is pretty impressive. Like, most people
I'm bad for the ego. It was funny because I was at the ATA archery trade show, and you kind of always know that there's nobody in here that can beat you up, or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
They were Ryan Bader, and I like Ryan Bader. And somebody said, "Who's tougher?" I said, if I was in my prime, me. But right now, Bader, that son of a bitch, would take me down.
Yeah.
He would take all that shit, and same way when I fought Randy, I wouldn't know if we were gonna be standing up or going for takedowns.
Sure.
So I was like, Mike, he's in shape. I think he probably beat me. So I'm probably the second toughest guy in the room right now. But now, I mean, it's reality.
Yeah.
Nobody can. I've said it before and say it again. Nobody can beat Father Time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe Randy. That's about it. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. So this is a show that like I said, I talked to someone who's been a star in the past, someone currently doing it, someone I think is in the future. So we're having Alexandra Ballou in the final segment. What would you give advice to her that you wish someone would have told you?
I don't know who she is.
No, but I'm saying it has to be her in general. But any young fighter, what advice would you give that you wish someone told you coming up?
You know, I was surrounded by great people, and I think that's why I was successful. Don't get too big for your head. Pat once said to me something I really liked and enjoyed, and I try to keep that in mind. Everybody you meet on the rise to the top are the same people you meet on the fall.
Yeah, that's good.
Every rung you go on, you're meeting that person, and then there's a time you're going to go back down that ladder. You go up and you go back. So treat everybody the way you want to be treated, surround yourself by great people, great training camps, good managers. Get a manager who wants to grow and build you, not a manager that wants you there just to make money.
Sure.
It was a great guy. I want to say, is it Charles McCarthy?
Okay,
He was a UFC fighter. He was a manager, right?
Yeah.
Perfect fucking example. Worst manager ever. Because he had no idea how to manage guys. He just wanted to get his guys in the UFC. So he would get a guy fight and didn't know who he was fighting.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll fight. We'll fight a UFC fight. Versus Monty would build you guys. And he would put stipulations in the contract. Well, we'll give him a title shot, but then we're not going to fight a killer immediately. Or they would give, when they offered Monty fights for his guys, when you were a heavyweight champion, they would give him 2 or 3 options so he could build his guys. Like in my career, he kept me away from great wrestlers my first 5 or 6 fights until I got better at wrestling takedowns.
Sure.
He likes to build guys. So you need to get a manager that wants to build you and that cares about you. I mean, like I said, best man at my wedding, he's my son's god. It's a friendship. It's not a business. Everything was done in a handshake. And, get with a good gym who they train with the people that want to be better and want to see you succeed, that are not jealous and that aren't trying to hurt you in the gym. They want to know those types of well. And obviously, when it comes, I did some investing. I did really good with buying land and building houses and stuff like that. But I wish I did a few things differently when it comes to money and stuff. So I always thought the money wasn't going to run out. And then when I got that big $1 million contract with Affliction, UFC bought out and they honor it.
Oh,
so, it was like I still was going to make $3 or $4 million. And
that's definitely tough. And
definitely. Fight. It's a short game. It's a short end game. So.
Yes, make the money, be smart with your investments, get with the right people who know how to invest right. That's good advice for everybody, regardless of fighting. To be smart with money. What is your connection with MMA now? Do you still train? Do you still get calls from fighters? Like, what do you have any connection to the sport?
No, I don't train anymore. Probably the only connection I really have is Stipe's a friend, and Robbie Lawler. I still watch sport. I love MMA. I train some of the guys, Rothwell, Derek Lewis.
All right, so obviously we've been talking about your MMA career, but you've been very successful afterwards, and it's a TV show that's not MMA related. It's actually hunting. Tell the people like how they can see you. You're on, what'd you say? It's season 6 of the season.
Yeah, season 6 will be airing this summer. We air 3rd and 4th quarter now on the Sportsman channel. Both here in Hunt. I get some friends that hunt that pro staff for me and stuff, but my fiance now, she really enjoyed it. She filmed a lot this year. She filmed me and my son, and my son killed a gray buck this year. He's 10 now, but you can catch us on the Sportsman channel, which is nationwide TV. Outdoor Adventure Network. We do have some YouTube clips and stuff like that. All the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah. So do you ever, you said you brought your son out there and different people. Have you ever bring any fighters with you?
I've gone with Spencer Fisher before and stuff.
Cool.
Pat was this year. He told me he wanted to get his fan card back because he hasn't fished in a while, and he couldn't make it. I went out and killed him a deer and brought it to him. I did the same thing for Jens and stuff. Jens wants to, Cowboy Throwing and I talked about it. The first UFC Chicago show, and we never made it happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They got to get a hold of me if they want to go hunting. You know, Mendez and I have been talking about it. We haven't had it make it happen either. So
yeah, that's definitely the guy, because I know he actually like retired from fighting so he can hunt more. And I know I think he's like the self-proclaimed best hunter in MMA, but I think you'd probably want to challenge him.
What now?
I said I know he think he's like self-proclaimed best hunter in MMA, but I'm sure you'd want to challenge him on that.
I am for sure.
Any issues like with PETA and any of that? Did you get any of that crap?
No, that pussies.
Okay, I didn't know, because
I just made a post yesterday about it. I spent how many hundreds of dollars every month to eat here. You know, during the wintertime, there's no food, especially this winter we've had here in Midwest. We've got ice and snow, over a foot of snow out there on my property. I had to go around my tractor and plow for a few hours. Then I had one of my farmers bring a bale of hay, drop the hay, and drop corn and protein and pellets and stuff. And we're doing that so deer are healthy, so they have something to eat. Peter just want to bitch and complain about it, but they're not doing what I do. They're not out there in the freezing cold, make sure the deer have food and water and mineral so they can live healthier lives.
And then, I mean, you're not just shooting them and leaving them there. You're not just cutting their heads off, and you're eating the food, and you're giving it. I know you said you give it to charity.
Sometimes I do, yeah, but I'll make sure I have 3 deer in my freezer.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. You broke up at the very end there, but Tim, listen, we went way over time. I appreciate it. You're just great to talk to you. I wish you good luck with the TV show. I hope we see you a little bit more involved in MMA. I wouldn't mind seeing you commentating on the desk, something. Let's get you back involved.
But I think I know a lot about MMA, and I always had. Anytime I ever cornered somebody, they always said I'm the best cornerman that they've ever had. I think I'm very knowledgeable about that, and it is what it is. I always enjoyed it, and I still love it. And we still watch it, and looking forward to Stipe retaining the belt and beating Ngannou.
Yeah, and there you go, guys. I tried talking him out and come back to the sport. I tried talking him to come back to fighting, but he squashed that instantly.
The only way it would be bare knuckle boxing.
Oh, there you go. Well, you say that now, you're probably gonna get a phone call soon.
And we've been talking.
Now, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is former multi-time UFC heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia. Guys, stick around. I'll be right back with Alex Hernandez, who fights this weekend in the UFC. All right, guys, we're on to the second segment. This is the part where I talk to a fighter or somebody in the MMA world that I think is making a big impact in the present. As you can see, my guest is already on screen. This is a guy who's coming off a spectacular fight of the night knockout, or should I say performance of the night knockout over Chris Grutzmacher. He returns February 27th at UFC Vegas 20 when he takes on Thiago Moises. He is Alex Hernandez. Alex, how you doing, my man?
Good, brother. Doing real good.
So let's get right into it. Your last fight, you got the big knockout. It was absolutely spectacular. The way he fell, it just, it was picture perfect. You had to know right away that you're going to get this bonus. When you pictured the fight in your head, I know you have to go through the scenarios. Like, could you have pictured any better than it actually played out?
No, I don't think so, man. I did a lot of visualization in that fight, but I tried to remove any expectation for it, and I certainly respected Grutzmacher and his durability more than anything, and so I was really pleased. I was really pleased to just break that early on and get the finish the way I did.
Yeah, and on top of that, you had to feel even better on your ride home when you got actually $50,000 getting put in your bank account. So let's talk.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. I've never had the opportunity where I've done something great and then get rewarded with $50,000, but I've also never had the opportunity where it's like, will I not get it? Like, what is going? You're in the back. Obviously, you're happy with the win, but it's got to be in the back of your head. Like, what are you thinking? Because like $50,000, that's some people's like 1 year salary. Like, what is going through your head at that moment?
Yeah, I try not to count the pennies or count the the chickens before they hatch, or even think about the bank count at all. But what do I think after the fight? Like after the fact?
Yeah. After, I'm saying afterwards. Like, are you like?
Yeah. Oh, afterwards, I was thinking money in the bag. For sure. But also, man, that was such a spectacular card. Everybody was fucking knocking everybody out.
That's right.
And so, man, I was like, dude, I think I should get it. I do think I had the nastiest knockout, but when you got 12 other guys that that got some knockouts also, you know, it's open to skepticism. So I wasn't sure who was going to get it. I was bummed out my teammate didn't also get it, Dustin Jacoby, because he had a spectacular knockout. I thought he definitely earned one also, but I was prepared to not get it. You know, you don't think about the bonuses. You can't be so greedy. You know, I think I want to train, fight, win. You know, and I want to get in there. I want to do my job. I want to do it to the best of my abilities. I want to impress myself, and then I'm happy. I'm happy at that point with an impressive victory. A bonus is just that. It's a bonus.
Yeah. So, did you spend it on anything particular? Did you get anything nice?
Yeah, no, I haven't, like, you know, bought anything cool, like, you know, a fucking giraffe or anything. You know, like. Haven't blown it in Bitcoin yet, but I'm working on some smart investments.
Good.
You know, put it back into my gym and into real estate right now. And
cool.
Back to Texas because it's a great economy.
That's good.
Just kind of playing it smart right there, trying to build these other avenues for myself, and so that's really what I'm doing.
Sure, that's really good. 'Cause you got a lot of guys young in their 20s. They never had anything kind of like that kind of money before, and they go out and buy a sports car or something like that. Yeah. It's smart, you know. Get your mutual funds or you real estate if that's where you want to go. That's really good. So when you were walking out, Megan O'Leary, they did that moment where Megan O'Leary's talking and then you walk through behind. It's like kind of always a cool moment. And she talked about when you went to Factory X, you had to make some necessary changes, but she didn't like go too in depth what those changes were. What do you think are why you said you went to Factory X? What were those changes?
Well, we need experience. You know, we were lacking expertise on that level.
Okay.
I was getting a guy, me and my coach Jason Yarrington start out together.
Okay.
Really, he was starting out his gym at the same time I was starting out my MMA career.
Okay.
And so I was the first one to be on that scene. And so we were winging a lot. You know, we were learning on the go, and to be catapulted into that kind of tier of competition, you can only get away with winging it so long before you get smoked. So that's kind of what happened, and we just needed to make those were the necessary adjustments. We needed a higher level of expertise and experience for an MMA coach that had done it before, you know, and that's what I found in Montoya.
Yeah, of course. So it's pretty funny you're saying that you burst on the scene, you're just winging it. You were winging it pretty well. I mean, you knocked out Beneil Dariush in your UFC debut, and we see what he's doing. He just picked up a huge win again. I mean, he's
been doing great.
Yeah, he's not far.
Super impressive guy.
Yeah. So
the shit was going well, no doubt. You know, but the problem was, you know, we come in so hot. I was smoking guys in LFA. You come in and you take out the number 10 guy like that, and it's like, dude, shit, it's easy, bro. I'll just keep doing this, and I'll just be, you know, running for title contention in 6 months. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And that was just, you know, it was just ignorant. that's exactly what it was. So, I just had to kind of settle into the hierarchy almost, you know, kind of respect the levels of the game and the fact that these guys at the top, you know, I got away with a good shot with Beneil. That's a tough son of a bitch, and I got away with a good shot with him, but I can't expect people just to always crumble like that or just crumble pressure. Guys at the top, you know, you look at a guy like, you know, Poirier the other weekend, you know, guys don't just crumble at the top. You know, they weather storms, and if you catch them, you turn the lights out. Well, that's one thing, but just to break a top 5 guy mentally from putting it on them and then expecting them just to go away, that just doesn't happen. And so it was just a whole new exposure. I just, you know, I was just unprepared for it and wasn't used to it all.
All right, so I'm gonna get you in trouble with your teammates. All right, while you're walking out, they said one of your quotes was, "I can't be the best guy in the gym. That's why you went to Factory X." So who is the best guy in the gym at Factory X?
You know, I always strive to be top dog everywhere I go. So
there you go.
So you know, I tell Coach tells us, and we tell ourselves, you know, I'm the baddest motherfucker in the world, let alone that gym. So I already see myself as that guy. But I have, I have such respect for those guys. Are fucking killers, and anyone can have their day in that gym, and that's the truth.
There you go. That's the very politician answer. So if when you're done with fighting, one of your investments might be in like a campaign or something. That was I like the way you slipped that one too. So let's talk about this. You wanted to get a quick turnaround. Like that's one thing you kept saying in the fight. It didn't happen. It's been like 4 months. What happened? Like why you just couldn't?
Yeah, I'm not mad at that because if you kind of saw the record beforehand and also prior to the UFC, I had a full job, a full time job and life shit and injuries and things and injuries. They settle a little longer when you have a career you're doing on the side, and so I wasn't as active as I ever wanted to be. Maybe had 3 fights most in a year, and so. I was kind of those first couple of years in the UFC rattling off a couple of fights, in part because I was so high up that talk about politicking, that happens a lot in the top 15, top 10, because you're always waiting for one guy to win or lose before you get your lineup and, whatever else. So it's not like I was moving terribly quick. Now, finally, I felt like, okay, we're kind of out of the rankings, but I really want to build my way up aggressively on the back end and get back in. I want to do it the right way this time. And so, yeah, I was campaigning for a quicker turnaround. I think because, this whole COVID shit, everybody's been on standby. There's been so many guys on standby. And so when opportunities arise, you can fill in. Mm-hmm. Kevin Holland has, so well so often this last year. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that, and sometimes those slots weren't available. The only one that I think really was available was RDA in a 5-rounder.
Oh, yeah.
And some people campaign for me to get that fight, but I certainly understand that someone more qualified like Felder would take it. So it's kind of a waiting game, And in this fight, and Thiago Moises, we both fought together on the 31st. So for us both to get another fight before the end of the year, again, might be a little greedy.
Yeah, I understand. It's a really weird game we're in right now with everything with COVID. So let's talk about that. You and Moises fought on the same card. You had the spectacular knockout. Props to him to see you get the spectacular knockout and then say, I want to fight that guy. So
man, I can't even believe, and that speaks to a level of delusion also, because I watched
there you go.
Watched mine and I thought, you want none of these problems. And it's funny, I didn't know he did that because I saw him in the hallway. I was looking spectacular in a custom suit, and he had some sweats on, some jammies.
Yeah.
And we passed each other, and I shook his hand. And I said, "Great job." And he said the same and smiled, and went his way. But I had no idea he called me out just like an hour before that. I had absolutely no clue.
Yeah.
I might have smacked the sense into him right then and there. But I think kudos to him. He's pulled off two great name wins.
Yeah.
And we're certainly in the same players column, and so I think, I think it's a great matchup. So
you used to be the one calling people out. Does it make it a little bit more personal that someone they called you out?
No, man. Some people say that, but dude, I've been getting called out since I got in this bitch. Because I came in and they were like, "Well, who the fuck's this kid?" And he's already ranked. I'll fight his ass. He just came out of LFA. I'll fight him. Yeah. And everybody's been calling me out. So it's nothing new. And I think it's just kind of cool. I get to, I've never paid attention to him though. I never noticed him because I'm always like, I don't want these assholes biting at my heels. I don't care to fight them. I'm trying to fight the guy ahead of me. Just like they're trying to fight me. I'm trying to fight the guy ahead of me. And now we're in a place where, we're in pretty comparable statuses, me and Thiago right now, and so it's a great fight. It just makes sense. It's not anything about. It's nothing personal. It's nothing about a call out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean he didn't say anything disrespectful. I just it just seemed like a fight that made sense, and it was a fight that I happened to get offered, so I said yes. I haven't ever turned down any fight.
Yeah. So let's talk about the X and O's about it. Like, how do you feel you match up? Like, obviously this guy's known for his jiu-jitsu, but we saw a lot more of stand up in his last fight. Like, when you do film, like, where do you think you have the biggest advantage?
I'd say the biggest advantage would be on the feet. Certainly. But I don't really see a disadvantage anywhere.
Okay.
I think that he would like to. I think he wants to become more recognized as a striker and just as exciting in general, like anybody would. Mm-hmm. So I think he's becoming more daring on the feet. I think it's going to get him exposed. It's going to get him in trouble. And I think whenever he he reacts out of desperation for a takedown or to grapple, I'll capitalize on that. I'll have my composure and I'll capitalize on it. And if it goes to the ground, I'll smash him on the ground. And if it's on the feet, I'll knock him out on the feet. So I feel good anywhere the fight goes.
Yeah. So I seen a recent interview you did where you were kind of like laying out the journey. Like, this is the ideal thing. I beat him, and then I face the next level up and the next level. And by, end of next year, I'm fighting for the title. I want to talk about the lightweight division for a second. Now, it's always been the most loaded division. It's always the most logjam. You got to go on this 10-win streak to get title shot. But it's even more logjam now than ever because the champion has retired, but maybe not retired. So fighting in that division, how does that what do you think the UFC should do right now? What if you were in charge? What would you do?
Man, it just doesn't affect me though. Like all this stalemating shit with Khabib, and that's all very celebrity profile, high top 3 guys. That's not even me, dude. I've got to fight with fucking Thiago Moises in a couple weeks. I'm not worried about Khabib's ass. I train preparing for Khabib every fucking day.
Yeah,
but right now, I've got 4 or 5 fights before that's even a factor. And you know what you're saying? You need streaks, but you do need streaks, but you don't need 10 streaks. That's political also. It all depends who you are and what you're doing, right?
That's a great point.
So I know whenever, as I rise the way I plan to rise, whenever I know I want that title shot and I'm prepared to take it, it's going to be right there waiting for me. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And I think as far as it's being run fine. I don't give a shit right now because whatever they do with the title, it's just going to draw eyes and just draw viewership and just be about, it's just about being a cash cow right now with the title. It's not actually about now that we're fizzling it out, I think it will be about merit. But again, it's just not in my foresight right now. I'm gonna focus on that in the coming year. But this year's about keeping the momentum going that I've got, being on the right side of the track, keeping my clarity, keeping my composure, and keeping my contract building. Making cheap. And so I want to do it all the right way. And then again, this whole muck at the top will be cleared out by next year. I'm not worried about it.
Sure. So I was more asking you, not necessarily as a competitor. I've seen you break down matchups and seem like just one of the ones that you are a fan of the sport. That's why I was more asking you, where is it the fans matter? What interests you the most in the division?
Well, I think the Charles Oliver. Well, so tell me this, because I am bad at keeping up with the times in the paper.
Sure.
So is Oliveira Gaethje booked, or is that something that's rumored?
Nope. And then Nate Diaz has kind of been sprinkling his name in there, calling out Oliveira.
That's really zero resonation with the belt. So that no disrespect. Nate Diaz has no. That just doesn't matter. That's a fun celebrity. That's a fun celebrity fight. But if we're talking about the belt, Charles Oliveira deserves to be in a contender fight for it, or just a fight for it, because now Poirier's up there. But it's between Poirier, Gaethje, and Oliveira right now. And however they need to spin that wheel to get 2 of those guys to fight, those would be the top 3 right now. And it could make sense to put Gaethje and Oliveira together, and then the winner fights Poirier. I think that would be, perfectly sensible and a good way to go about it.
Yeah, there you go. The reason why I was bringing Diaz's name is just because he's been calling out Oliveira. That's what I was saying. But you made a great point about, you're right. If Nate Diaz goes on a 2-fight winning streak, he's in a title shot. But if Tony Ferguson goes on an 8-fight winning streak, he's not. It is political.
Right. Or look at a guy like Diego Ferreira.
Oh, yeah.
It was a killer fight. Derek Hughes brought to attention that, hey, we shouldn't be fighting each other. We both should have been getting top 5 shots. And there's a lot of truth to that. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's got a different route. You look at a guy like Darren Till, who shot up and got a title shot after only a handful of fights, It just depends. Everybody's got their own walk. But I think again, making that Oliveira Gaethje matchup and then the winner fights Poirier is a fair shot for the title.
Well, we're running out of time. I just want to ask you 2 more questions. You did a little cornering last time. Is that a thing that you could
fucking machine this year, dude? And I hate it. I fucking
really
hate it. Yeah, no, I mean, I dude, the fight week's a celebration, man. My fight week's a fucking party. When I'm with the boys on their fight week, I make it a party. We're having a great time, because it's nothing but positivity and a again, a celebration of all the work and commitment that's gone into it, and the fact that we're about to get a fat old victory. So it's a great time. But when you have to sit in that goddamn corner, dude, it is the most. I would rather be the man in the arena any day of the week.
Really?
Than poor sweaty son of a bitch in the corner losing his voice,
So
and his soul screaming at the guys in the cage. It's a hard job. It's a hard job. I have so much respect for the coaches that do it, because you put so much heart and investment in everybody, like they're your kids or your brothers.
Sure.
In my case, you want them to succeed, and it is just the most stressful ordeal in the world. It really is. It's so stressful.
Yeah.
But I had a great time doing it, especially with Brandon. That's my dog there.
I know. He's fantastic too. I was wondering if that was going to be a route that we see you becoming a coach one day, but maybe not yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I make my money elsewhere, and then I might do some things for fun or raise my own. But Brandon's actually coming out to my fight too.
Okay.
I almost tried to put him in the corner, but we already had some kind of things in aligned. But he'll be out there with me, so
he gets to do the partying part then instead. He didn't have to worry about that. So he has it really good.
Yeah, he has it really good. Yeah.
My
quarantine. So.
Yeah, my final question I always got to ask you anytime I get a fighter and I don't ask it, everyone gets mad at me. I got to have an official prediction for you because all the bettors want to know how to make money off of you.
Yeah, man, I've been having a hard time reconciling it with myself because I don't know if it's going to be a first round or a second round TKO.
There you go.
Hey, what do you think?
I think it's first round TKO.
First round TKO. You heard it from coach himself. So I got a first round TKO.
There you go. Well, hedge the bet. Bet both rounds, and either way you'll make money.
And the way I'm cracking, maybe it's a KO, dude. I don't know, KO or TKO.
You get it both ways. You get it both with KO and TKO. You get it both ways. Yeah, because you know why? Because it's too close to call. Was that a TKO? Was that a KO? It's too close.
It's so close to call, yeah. It's so close to call.
There you guys have it. That's Alex Hernandez. Alex, I'm going to wish you good luck in this fight and obviously everything in the future. Guys, we got one more interview. Stick around.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys, we're in the final segment. This is the part where I talk about the future. Before I get to that, though, I want to thank our last guest, Alex Hernandez, who's got a big fight coming up. So I went from Alexander to Alexandra. That's my next guest. This next guest, she was 3-0 as an amateur. She's 1-0 as a professional, coming off a big win over Lisa Blaine on a Bellator card. She returns after a two-year plus layoff at Icon Fighting 5 when she takes on Griffin Frisk March 5th in Biloxi, Mississippi. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexandra Ballou. Alexandra, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm excellent. So let's get right into it. How did you hook up with Icon? Because you're a New Englander. You can probably tell by my accent. I'm actually a New Englander myself. We're both in Southern New England. It's normal to be in the Bellator Mohegan Sun shows. It's normal to be on the CES and the shows that you have been scheduled to. How did you hook up with Icon?
Yeah, so I think the dynamic started to shift probably during COVID times. A lot of regional shows just haven't been able to, I think CES threw one fight during this whole thing, which I was supposed to fight on, and that fell through. And then, I feel like, or from what I understand at least, Bellator has obligations to contracted fighters.
Of course.
So there's a lot of that going on. But Icon, the promoter Dean, he's just been hosting shows this whole time throughout the pandemic down in Florida. He had island fights going for amateur shows, and then he put together Icon. So, we reached out, and then my manager, Tyson Chartier, he reached out to Dean, and they were able to put it together for me. And I can't tell you how unbelievably grateful I am after not 2.5 years, but I think close to almost 2.5 years.
Yeah. Well, one thing, that really stood out to me is so many regional fighters and are really struggling to find, or I shouldn't say regional, I say up-and-coming fighters who fight on the regional scene, really struggling to get matchups. A big thing that's going to help is having the right manager. A guy like Tyson is one of the best managers in the world, and that's a good benefit of that. So let's go back to your professional debut. It was a Bellator matchup. You went against Lisa Blaine. Right away, the thing that jumps out to me is your professional debut, you got thrown to the wolves. And what I mean by that, Lisa Blaine had a little buzz, especially in Bellator. I mean, she had a win over Anna Houlihan, who was getting a huge promotional push, being, former multi-time boxing champion. She, pulled an upset. And then you kind of pulled an upset against her. And I don't mean an upset. I don't know about what the betting lines. I mean more of name value. I'm not trying to insult you there, but name value. Lisa had the big win. You're making your debut. What would you you even got a stoppage in the third round. What would you grade your overall performance?
So I don't know if a lot of fighters feel this way. It's very hard to look sometimes at your fights. And I personally, for that fight, so I was really excited, super grateful. I wanted that fight. I was very happy at the finish. There was a lot of pressure, and just one of those people where, like, when the time comes, I follow through, but leading up to it, I do, have anxiety, and it was new. It was my pro debut. It was here in Connecticut, so I had over 100 people that I knew, like family and friends, watching me. So it was a big deal for me. So I would say watching some of my hesitation and tentativeness is a little difficult now for me. But at that time in that place, I knew I wanted that win. So full send.
Yeah. So you said there's a lot of pressure. Would you you put that pressure on yourself? Like, you're feeling it?
Oh, I'm the worst at that. Yeah.
So what do you do to you got you're training a good team, smaller team, but a good team in New England. You got a lot of people around you that have some high level experience. I know Matt Bissett is one of the owners of the gym. He's fought all the way up into the UFC. Like, what have you done to kind of get over? Like, have you talked to people? Like, what? Because you want to have some natural pressure because, listen, you're fighting, but on the same sense, you don't want it to become a negative. Like, what do you do to get over that?
Yeah, so there's a few things, I guess. So as much as I had that pressure that I put on myself, I also do have this counteracting that some ego. So even if I feel for instance, Lisa Blaine had a higher record than me, and I watched her tapes. I knew she had more experience, but I just didn't care. I knew I was going to win, and that's my ego. So that kind of is self-preserving in terms of that regard. And then also what it really boils down to is trusting yourself, trusting the work you put in. You know what I mean? As you peak in training camp, as you get to those levels, as you are successful at certain things, no matter what you're feeling that moment, you put in the work if you put in the work. So you just, I know at the end of the day, I have all the work I put in to fall back on, and that it will serve me well when the fight comes,
Yeah, no, I went over to Instagram just right before the interview to kind of, get some little tidbits. And I saw one video, you talk about hard work. I saw you doing dips, but you had the weighted with the chain. And I'm like, oh my God, this girl's a badass. Yeah. Anyways, so you were scheduled, that was over 2 years ago, the last time you fought. You've been scheduled twice. Once in Bellator, once in CS. I apologize for not knowing this. What happened? Why were those fights canceled?
Yeah, so right after my pro debut, I got booked again for a fight in February for Bellator against Sarah Payne. And what happened was I was at Lausanne's training one weekend, and there was a freak accident in the gym, and this girl fell on the outside of my knee and forced it inward, and the whole thing cracked, and it started swelling immediately. And then, I got home, and everyone was telling me to get an MRI, and I started running on it, and I'm crazy, so I was like, I'm fine. And I got my MRI, and my ACL was completely torn. MCL was a grade 2 sprain, and my meniscus was completely torn. So I pretty much was scheduled for surgery 2 weeks later.
Jeez. At
that point. Yeah, and it took me 7 months to recover. You got to rebuild the muscle, learn how to walk again. It was devastating. And then, I got cleared to fight, and then it took me a little while to get back in shape, which was also quite a process, fight shape. And then I had trouble booking opponents, and then I signed for CES in May of 2020, and the pandemic hit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just been a string of, I don't know.
Yeah. So
adversity.
You talked about earlier about feeling pressure, but you got to feel a little bit of relief now to kind of get back in there and kind of get back to normal, right?
Yeah, it's just so surreal. Sometimes, so I've been close a few times to pretty much fight week and having fights fall apart.
Yeah.
For some reason, though, this time it just feels solidified. You know what I mean? I'm approaching fight week, and I'm like, oh my God, this is real. I haven't felt this in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your matchup. So this girl, Griffin Frisk, what do you know about her, and how do you feel you match up?
So I watched her tapes. My manager and team, they'll send me a name. And at this point, I've said yes to anyone, anywhere. I've said yes at 135. I do not care. I'm really grateful that this is coming together. She seems to be aggressive, which is going to be good. It's going to be fun. Ultimately, though, I have been waiting so long. I have been working so hard. I don't care who's in front of me. I am going in to slaughter, period. I haven't been regionally ranked in 2 years because I haven't fought. I'm looking to come back, fight a lot this year, and just remind people, I'm here and, get finishes,
Yeah. I guess maybe we'll see some of that frustration,
Yeah,
waiting 2 years of really, you punch your teammates and stuff, but it's not the same as dropping an elbow on your teammate or a knee. So
yeah, it's not the same.
Maybe we'll see some of that. So let's talk about this for a second. So you said that you've been, out. You've been out for 2 years. You had the knee injury, but you're also at that age where you kind of make. And I say this on our preview show I do with Ben Duffy and also in the recap. You're at the age where you make some big improvements, you're at that peak age, but also when you have 2 year layoff, it's been a long time. So you can not only make big improvements, but you can make big improvements over a long period of time. So when we see you in action, what's going to be the biggest improvement we see since your debut?
Yeah. So, I come from a grappling background. I don't think that's really much of a secret. And I just feel comfortable there, and that's my jam. But I've been working, especially since my knee mobility at that time was lessened. I've been working a lot on my stand-up. So I want to be, obviously the most evolved and complete fighter I could be. I want to be devastating. So I've been working on utilizing my range, being more aggressive with my striking, just more movement, more fluidity. So I really want to showcase a lot of that and a lot of different combos and just stuff we've been working on. And obviously whatever finish presents itself, I'm going to take, but I really want to knock someone out.
Yeah.
Really. So that's my goal.
Yeah. I just did an interview last week with Chris Dawkins, the UFC heavyweight, and he was talking about, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but we haven't seen it in the UFC. And he's like, well, because it's more fun just to knock people out. It's a little more fun. So I definitely understand that. All right. So we were just talking, you're off for a long time, so you want to be active, but what's the ultimate plan? Are you're talking to Icon to try to get more fights? I know you maybe CES that's doing some shows. We're starting to. I mean, I'm obviously no expert, but it seems like we're trying to slowly get back to normal. Is a thing to be more active? Is it try to get exclusively with Bellator where you started? What's the plan?
Yeah, so the plan is, we've been working with Icon a lot, so we've been talking. So chances are, you'll probably see me there again. But also, my main goal is to fight. I would love to fight 4 times this year at least. Hopefully come out unscathed, have a quick turnaround, work on whatever I need to work on, fight again. So if I can get 4 fights done this year, even 3, whatever I can take. It's just been so long, so I'm just super grateful. But if I can come out this year and be 4-0, 5-0, the next step for me would be looking at the UFC opportunities,
Sure.
Knocking on the door, whether that be the Contender Series, whether that be, fights coming up and, I get the call. So whatever it is, but, that was my biggest dream. So sure. I worked really hard. I've been training. I've stayed in this game even when I wasn't actively fighting. So, I'm planning on making up for a lot of lost time this year.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, you're looking for the fast track. That's what you're into. My last question, I apologize. We kind of ran out of time. I wish we would have liked to go a little bit longer with you. But you talked about wanting to get in the finish. You talked about wanting to show your stand-up. But you also talked about having, coming from a grappling background. So my final question is, what is your prediction? How do you win this fight?
I probably, if I had to get, the way I see it, it's either going to be some sort of a head kick knockout or takedown, and the ground and pound, that's my jam. I don't know. I just get bloodthirsty. I get in the zone and it just becomes some feral thing. And so if I have my opportunity for that, you'll always see me going for it. So it's going to be one of those two.
There you go. If you can get a bet and get her in by stoppage, as that's what she's calling. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we ran out of time. I want to thank all our guests. We had a spectacular lineup. Former UFC heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia, Alex Hernandez, and of course the one we just talked to, Alexandra Ballou. Alexandra, I wish you good luck in this fight and all your future fights. I'd like to thank all you people for listening. We'll be back next week. I got a couple lineups, a couple of the interviews booked. It's an incredible lineup. I don't want to announce anything yet in case anything falls apart, but if you like the show, wait till next week's. Ladies and gentlemen, you just watched MMA Past, Present, and Future.